Hello. This is going to be the first in a series of tutorials I'm going to do on using a Tourbox. It's an input device that lets you program keyboards, shortcuts. Now, other people may feel differently than me, but I can't stand keyboards. They're the bane of my existence. I hate keyboards. The less typing I have to do, the less gymnastics I have to do with my fingers to, press down and hold and do 3, 4, key combinations for a tool or a command. I just want something that's more streamlined and simplified and is just, actually enhances your productivity in a very good way, in an enjoyable way. And you can also do macros and everything else. So I'm going to be showing how to use Tourbox with a bunch of different programs, but for the time being, I'm going to show how to do it with Affinity. So here's a picture of my cat Lorelei, and imagine you're going to bring in a sketch or a photo, and you're going to use that as a basis, as a reference, and maybe you're going to trace over it and create an illustration. Now, typically what I would do is I would knock the opacity down to, like, say 30%, send it to the back to where it's at the bottom of the layer stack over here, and then I would lock the layer so that, I can't accidentally select it or move it. And then I would probably rename the layer. Right now, it comes in as, typically from your cameras or phones or whatnot, it's IMG, _0268. Typically, I just like to rename it to something like sketch, or you could rename it to tracing or reference or what have you. So before I get into the Tourbox, I'm going to clean up this photo a little bit. So let's go to the Pixel Studio, and I just want to quickly just select her. Let me do the inverse and then just delete the background, and let me get rid of, this is her tail, but it doesn't really look that good, so there we go. That's good enough. So now we'll go back to the vector. So, okay, I want to do a macro that does everything that I said just a couple minutes ago. I want to have it go down to the bottom of the stack, locked, opacity down to 30%. I want to rename the layer to sketch. And I'm not going to bother to do all that just to see how long it takes to do it. The point is I want to click one button and have it do it instantaneously in 1 second. I mean, that's what, that's where the productivity boost and gains come from. Something that may take 10 seconds, you just do it in 1. So, okay, let's get over to the Tourbox. So this is the Tourbox. I have the top of the line one. I guess it's called the Elite Plus. It works with Mac and Windows. It works with, desktop, laptop. But this top of the line model actually works with your iPad as well. So one device to rule them all, so to speak. It's the most expensive one, no doubt. It's upwards of, $270. But they do have a light version that has less buttons, like this dial, and these arrow keys are basically removed. And you can still do a lot, but the price is like $95 for that light version. So that's probably a more realistic option for people that are on a budget. But anyway, you can do macros and you can do everything else on all the different models, so don't worry about that. Okay, right off the bat, I'm going to delete the preset for Affinity right off the bat because I want to do this totally, with a clean slate. So go up here and click on Create a New Preset. And I'm going to put in Vector Studio. And I'm going to hit OK. Now it says not linked. You need to link it with the app. So click on that, and here's the Affinity. So there's the icon. So now we're linked up. Now, every single one of these buttons and knobs and dials, you can do a shortcut. And you can also hold down, like say this tall button, and you can also, like see this knob, you can also do combinations. So, I mean, you could probably get upwards of easily over 100 different combinations, you know, if you just think it through. But this video is dedicated towards macros, so that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to use this Tour button here. It's right to the lower left of the big knob. So Tour, if you press down on it, it highlights in the kit section here, and it has not set. So you're going to click on not set, and we're going to go over here where it says Tour menu, and we're going to create our first Tour menu. The reason why we're creating this menu is because we're going to populate it with macros. So that's what I'm going to call this. We're going to call it macros and hit create. Now right now there's nothing in it, so and we're just going to hit close for the time being. Now this macro tab up here, this is where we're going to create our first macro. So you hit the plus sign, and we're going to call this sketch. You're going to hit OK. Okay, so these are the actions. So let's think through what we want to do. So I want to send it to the back. Okay, first thing, I'm going to send it to the back. So the shortcut for that is Shift Command. I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to hit OK. And then over here, there's a thing where you can create notes. So send to back and hit OK. It's a good idea to take advantage of that note feature, because when you're doing macros, it just makes, you know, if it's more explanatory, you know, it just helps you when you're creating the macro, knowing what each command is doing. So, okay, I want to lock the layer. So that is Control L, and I'm going to hit OK. And for the note, I'm going to put lock layer. Okay, so this next action may not make much sense, but I'm going to type in 3 and hit OK. Now on your keyboard, if you hit the number keys, it'll actually affect the opacity of the layer. So when I type in 3, it's setting the layer's opacity to 30%. Here, let me even be more descriptive. Set layer opacity to 30%. Okay, so now we want to rename the layer. And for that, it's Shift Command R. We're going to put rename layer. Okay, so you want to go to text and actually type in sketch. Hit OK. This is kind of redundant, but I'll just type in sketch here. So rename layer, we're implementing the text, sketch is what we want. And then for the last action, we just want to hit the enter key. And this is because a dialog will come up when you summon the rename layer. And even though sketch is input into the text field, you're still left with, you know, the dialog box where it wants you to confirm it. So that's what this enter will do. So we'll hit OK. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me, but we still have to check it out. So, okay, so now we want to edit the macros. Now, I'm in the macros menu. So now we want to actually add the macro. So we go over to the macro tab and we highlight sketch. You see sketches over here. So now we hit OK. Make sure the macro menu is selected and then hit OK. So tour menu macros. When you hold down that, it's going to show a menu and you'll be able to select sketch. So now let's go back to Affinity. Okay, here's Lorelei looking real pretty. So you select the layer, don't select the mask, select the actual, picture to where that is highlighted. And so now on your tour box, hold down the tour menu and you can see sketch is highlighted. If you hit the tall button, it will implement the macro. Now, if you saw it real briefly, you could see the rename layer dialog box come up, and then it hit enter, and it did everything that we set up. This was at the top of the layers. Now it's at the bottom. Send to back. We locked it. We renamed the sketch, and we knocked the opacity down to 30%. So I hit one button. It does it in 1 second. And I just love that. I love these macros. Let me get rid of this D-pad here. That's actually a Tourbox feature. So, okay, there's our first macro. So, one of the other things when I'm working on stuff is we all have junk drawers. If you're in the kitchen or elsewhere in your house, you'll have a drawer that ends up with all kind of odds and ends. You know what I mean? So, I like to have a junk drawer in pretty much all the files I work on. It could be a temporary place that you put items in. It could be something where you find a happy accident. You find things that look cool and you're like, hey, I want to save this, or, just hang on to it for a while. So what I like to do is create a container layer, and I rename it Skunkworks. Skunkworks is a word I always loved. Lockheed Martin, that made the SR-71 Blackbird and fighters and jets and stuff, they had a division called Skunkworks. And so that's my junk drawer name. I just call it Skunkworks. So basically, I want to do a macro that create a new container layer, rename it to Skunkworks, send it to the back, to the bottom of the layer stack, lock it, and then hide it. Because the stuff we put into the junk drawer, we don't want it to be visible while we're working. So I want to accomplish all those steps and just have it in a macro, again, where I click one button and it's all done magically in 1 second. So, okay, let's go back to Tourbox and see how we do that. Okay, so we're going to be adding Skunkworks to this macro. But let's go to the macro and actually create it. Now, some of those commands are in the sketch macro. So a good thing to do is to go to sketch, go to these little, what do they call it? Ellipse. Click on it and we'll say copy. And we're going to call this Skunkworks. And we're going to hit OK. Okay, now, some of these things we don't really need. We don't need the opacity, so I'm going to delete that. Send to back, yes. Lock layer, yes. Okay, let's, instead of sketch, we're going to call it Skunkworks. Okay, that's good. So the one thing we really need is we need two items. We need to create the container layer itself, and we need a hide layer. So we need 2 steps. So let's create an action to to do a container layer, that's Option Command L, hit OK. In the note for that, new container layer, hit OK. Now this has to go up at the top of the stack, so drag it all the way to the top. Okay, we need hide, so we'll create an action for that. So I have Control H for hide. We'll hit OK. Make a note for that, hide layer. We'll hit OK. Yeah, let's put hide layer right after lock layer. Okay, so we have 7 steps. Everything looks good. I'm just updating all the notes and everything. So it looks good, so I'm going to hit OK. Or wait a minute, I'm going to go back to the Tour menu. Okay, we're going to edit. We're going to hit the plus sign. Go over to the Macro tab and check Skunkworks to add to it. Okay, let me just take a minute to explain the way the menu shows up in Affinity. So you can actually edit the style. You can have it be light or dark. You can control the opacity. You can control the size of the text, the width of the box, the height. So it all just depends on you. The other thing too is you can, if you have like, say you have 10 macros and you want to have some dividers, like I'll just go a bit, see there's like a divider line. So you can customize the menu and make it look as pretty or organized as you want. So, oh, here's the other thing. In terms of the setting, you can actually control where the menu pops up according to where you have the cursor. And you can also pin it on the screen so that it stays open. I mean, these are things that you'll learn, you know, as you play around with it. So I'll hit OK. Okay, so we got our 2 macros. It's highlighted. I'll hit close. So now let's go back to Affinity. Okay, so I go to the Tour box, I press the Tour button. Again, see where it popped open according to where I had the cursor? So let me bring the cursor down here. If I hit the Tour button, when that option was in the Tour box, remember there were boxes all around the menu, and so I clicked the box that was down here in the corner, so that's where the menu pops up. Now, if you move the scroll wheel, I know I only have 2 items here, but imagine you had 10 items. The scroll wheel lets you quickly scroll down to the thing that you want, and then the tall button, which my thumb naturally rests over, that allows you to select it. So I'm gonna select it. Okay, so there, it created a new container layer, renamed it Skunkworks, locked it, and then hid it. So, pretty good. Let me just, all right, just let me take the square tool here. Say this was like something great that I just absolutely have to have. You know what I mean? See, right now it's in the container layer, but say I was working on something and I'm like, wow, this is so great. I must keep it for later. Just drag and drop it into the Skunkworks layer, and it's hidden. And you know, you won't be able to select it because it's locked. It's hidden away, and you can continue to work as you would normally. So the macros are really compelling. The one thing I was disappointed in is even though we have macros in Affinity, this is sort of like the history before Canva bought Affinity when we had 3 different apps. The macros were only really in Affinity Photo. So I was real interested when it all got merged together into one app. It still seems like the macros don't cover everything. Like I was hoping it would allow you to record everything in the different studios, vector, pixel, layout, etc. I mean, maybe that's still on the way, but one of the workarounds of getting around that is to use the macro functionality in the Tourbox. So hopefully that is a pretty good explanation of macros in Tourbox. I use Tourbox a lot in all my different apps, and I just love it. So if you have any questions or comments, I'll easily answer any questions that you have, or do some further videos to explain stuff. Thank you.